Welcome back to The Gassing Station, the podcast that goes sifting through the PistonHeads forums, although this time, co-host Sam Sheehan, we've actually been doing some journalism.
I know, real not journalism. Journalism is when you're just pumping it out for SEO.
Having seen some of the comments, some people don't believe that we're actual proper journalists, but this time we have got not one, not two, but many news stories to bring, all of which have broken in the space of an hour before we start recording this. So there's quite a lot to get through. I'm going to bring you a piece of news that I've got. You're then going to give me something, and then I'll a piece of news, and then I've got one more to top things off. So we're going to start off with the Lamborghini Fenomeno Roadster.
Fenomeno, good name.
Phenomenal.
But not with a PH.
We've known about the Fenomeno for a while. I think it was released last year. It's one of these Lamborghini few-offs.
Yeah. Is that what they call them?
They don't call... Yeah. In fact, so I'll get onto that in a bit because I've been chatting to someone quite senior at Lamborghini. And when I actually said limited edition, special edition, I was corrected. They said, no, it's a few off. And I was like, oh, okay, yes. Because with the Fenomeno Roadster, they're only building 15 of them.
That is a few.
Yeah. Exactly. 1,080 horsepower, the most powerful Lamborghini Roadster ever made. It looks phenomenal. I tried squeezing that together, but it didn't really work. The launch car is in a relatively interesting spec of like a light blue and red. It reminds me very much of a Hot Wheels car, but that's very on brand for Lamborghini.
From this angle, it looks a little bit like a Corvette Stingray.
Sam.
Little bits of it.
Just...
I know, that's quite offensive to Lambo
designers. If you
designers,
said that in front of Lamborghini,
like
you would be shot.
I know.
It's... I mean, you know, Meteor, who is who runs the Lamborghini design department, has created some really quite spectacular designs. Yeah. I think it's all very... I would say Fenomeno, probably not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I think it's quite childish. I think it's like a Lambo if you allowed your kid to spec it.
Now.
Yeah, but you know,
maybe we look at these things and we go, oh, it's a bit childish. But a Lamborghini should be childish.
I don't know. I think they've it's got what's all like. Why has it got black bits on the intakes on the bonnet, and then like it's got like like when like Cleopatra eye makeup and stuff. Like what's going on? And then a bit of red down at the bottom. It feels a little bit like when you've got a video game that allows you to customize your car, and then you know.
I tell you what, that's a good point. It does look like it's come out of GTA.
Yeah.
Which is funny because the cars that are in GTA are inspired by real Lamborghinis, or real cars in general. But like the Lamborghinis are really obvious. And so this one looks like it's inspired by a car that is inspired by a Lamborghini.
A Grand Theft Auto. It can't be Lambo, but it looks like a Lambo. Yeah.
The plan wasn't actually to talk about the Fenomeno, because this was sort of a segue into talking about what I actually wanted to talk about. But still, it's potentially, we're not the target market. Believe it or not, I don't.
A couple hundred grand short to be it.
A couple of several million short of a Fenomeno. But it does make me think, though, looking at it, like, the Revuelto is now so technologically advanced and so freaking expensive.
Yeah.
It's, what, 400 grand at least, I think, for one of them. That you kind of look at this, and do you remember when they released the Rebenton? Which is what kind of introduced that jet fighter styling it's kind of stuck around for a while now, right?
Yeah.
So because everyone used to say, oh, Lamborghinis, they're like jet fighters on wheels. So they went, why don't we make a jet fighter on wheels? And so that previewed the Aventador, and then the Aventador comes out and you go, I thought the Murcielago was good looking. This thing is wild. Yeah. And then the Fenomeno comes out and you kind of go like, actually, Lamborghinis have been wild for... they are so outlandish now that it almost seems hard to outdo themselves. And so I look at this Fenomeno and I'm like, that looks really cool. But if you have had a Revuelto, I don't know if there is a Revuelto Roadster yet, but if there is, there almost certainly will be. I would be like, kind of happy with that, really.
Yeah.
And it cost me at least £1 million less.
Do you know, sidetrack, I think Ferrari have accidentally gone down the route of Lambo. I think Ferrari have got too extreme now. Because I think Lambo, you're right, they've always looked really extreme. And I always liked that Ferrari had you think of a 488 GTB, and especially a 458, and they were aerodynamically styled, but still quite soft. They didn't have crazy aero angles here and there, whereas their new stuff really does. Yeah. Some of it does anyway. Although actually, to be fair, it does look like they are going to tone it down again. I think they've gone a bit too extreme. I think Lambo are the only ones that should do this extreme stuff because it works on that, even if I think it looks like it's been designed by a child. Finished by a child.
I was actually meant to be going along to this to see the Fenomeno Roadster. However, I couldn't make it for various work commitments. I think we were probably podcasting, to be honest, and for some reason that takes priority over seeing a brand new Lamborghini. However, I was able to meet with Lamborghini CEO Stephan Winkelmann at the new Lamborghini Pool dealership. So they're just opening a Lamborghini Pool dealership.
Did you bring your swim shorts?
I mean, it is opposite the sea, because that's what Pool is.
Yeah.
But fantastic dealership. I mean, when I arrived there, it was before the kind of the grand opening event, so it was a degree of, journalist comes in, talks, and then that's you done.
As you're leaving, champagne trays come out. You're like, I see where the budget's gone.
And also, just to point out that you don't get many opportunities to dress up smart in the journalism world, mostly because you're driving.
In the car journalism world.
In the car journalism world, yes, that's correct. In the suit industry, I'm sure it's extremely different. But I don't get a lot of chances to wear a suit or even just dress smart cash. So I was like, Stephan Winkelmann is famously a well-dressed man. I'm going to try and put a bit of effort in. So I didn't go in full suit, but I went looking as smart as I could. Turn up. It was like a black tie event for a lot of the customer event that was going on. And then you see Stephan Winkelmann and you're like, oh, it's just annoying. The man is so ridiculously well-dressed. He's a ridiculously handsome man.
Man crush. Yeah,
exactly.
Enough.
Always looks extremely sharp. He comes up to me and he's so excited to talk, and I'm just like, we're going to talk about industry stuff. You're going to hate me in about 5 minutes' time. But no, so we sat down, we had a little chat, just kind of wanted to figure out what was going on in Lamborghini's future, really. And a couple of interesting things that came out of it. One was, so I was asking him, there is such the cost of entry now for a Lamborghini is ridiculously high, because a Temerario is around 300 grand.
Oh, so the Urus is the cheapest.
Well, yeah, so he reminded me, he's like, don't forget that we have the Urus. And I was like, yes, I mean, that's an SUV. But, I also tried to be like, oh, yes, I know that's a super SUV.
The baby Lambo. That's massive, but it's the baby Lambo.
It is the baby Lambo. No, it is the massive one. But I was like, so what could there be some scope for an entry-level Lamborghini? Because you remember back when the Gallardo was around. Yeah. Yes, take inflation into account, but, that was considerably cheaper than what a Temerario is now.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely a supercar rather than a hypercar, whereas everything now feels hypercar. At least in price.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, that's the other thing as well. I said, you've got Temerario is knocking on the door of 1,000 horsepower, and that's the baby Lamborghini, ignoring the elephant in the room that is the SUV. And so there he was saying, well, we are, if when we would look to introduce a fourth model into the range, it would be a 2+2 Grand Tourer. Oh. Which is very interesting, because there hasn't been a 2+2 Lamborghini since a Spada.
Yeah, I think so. They did that concept, didn't they? But
they've done a few concepts. Yeah. But the most recent 2+2 concept that they did was an electric car. So it was called the Lanzador, and it's a car that indirectly has been axed, because it was an electric 2+2, and Lamborghini announced recently that it said, we're just not doing electric cars anymore because no one wants them. So I asked him to elaborate on that a bit more, and I was like, what were your customers thinking? And the way he put it was like, and I think this is how a lot of manufacturers are looking at things at the moment, is they anticipated the curve of interest in electric cars to grow. Yeah. So obviously not a lot of people interested in them to begin with.
In that
range
market,
was terrible.
Right? Yeah.
It was just in general as well. Yeah. But, obviously we see passenger cars, EV uptake is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, even though the market's kind of a bit all over the place at the moment. But yeah, as you say, in their end of the market, it just never materialized. Yeah. But I like the way that he put it, because he said Lamborghini customers are after, it's desire, performance, and emotions, which sounds very marketing-y, but he's also right. Yeah. If you read between the lines, that is, I've saved up all this money to buy a Lamborghini, a car famous for its noise, and you're giving me an electric car. I've got no interest in that. So he said they're interested in that and not mobility. And I was like, yeah, that's... Because ultimately that's what EV works so well in, is mobility. And mobility is such a dirty word, not just on this podcast, but in that in
Not very
that corner of the
emotional.
market.
Yeah, and look at the
the worst.
Lotus Evija. I don't know the exact sales numbers, but of course I know they've been working on it for a long time. But clearly it's not like everyone wants an Evija.
Yeah, precisely. So I mean, they're 3 million pound cars or whatever.
At that end of the market, people are like, well, I know it's got crazy downforce and aero and stuff, and its performance is high, but I just want a big loud V12 engine.
Actually, I'm going to counterpoint you there, Sam, because I think that if you are, though there would build so few of them, that I think there would be some tech bros around the world who would go, I want the best electric car ever because I don't care about speed. I just care about fastness and technology. And I think there are people out there that would go, I would rather buy this than a GMA T50. I'm not one of those people. If someone gives me 3 million quid, I would go, well, I don't think you could buy a T50 anymore. I'd get a T33 from Gordon Murray and have a glorious noise. Or see how much a Valkyrie's going for. So I understand it for that. But if we're looking at what this would have been, 2+2, selling in relatively high numbers, you've got a lot of people going, yeah, well, not that interested. I'd much rather have the Touareg-based Urus with a big old V8 up front.
Subtle insult to everyone who spent 200k on a Urus.
Well, I mean, it's what it is.
Touareg.
If that's what you're after, and obviously they're very practical, whatever. So he didn't confirm what engine would be in this 2+2, but I think from what I can see that's rumoured is that it would be a plug-in hybrid V8.
I was about to say, surely it would be the same V8.
Which is what the SE, the Urus SE has. Yeah. And that's putting out 800 odd horsepower.
Is that the same setup as the Cayman Turbo SE as well? Probably, right? Yeah.
Probably, because it's all
Porsche.
Everything shared. Yeah. Don't think they've introduced that on the Touareg yet. But yeah, so it would probably be along those lines, and I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense. It would. So the idea is that I think it wasn't fully known of where it would sit. From what he's told me, it would be positioned between Urus and Temerario, rather than below Urus. Okay. So, yeah, really interested to see what that looks like. And I think that with no intention of building an electric car going forward, having a plug-in hybrid 2+2 sounds like a smart idea, at least to kind of bring those emissions down. The other thing he told me that I hadn't thought about is that, so Euro 7 comes in November this year. That's what's terrifying for a lot of manufacturers, is that they're going, oh my God, we've got to get our performance engines ready for Euro 7 because it's a properly stringent. And it's not just emissions, it's also noise. So the noise cap for engines going forward is horrifically low. They're practically going to be silent.
That's a shame.
So I put that to Stephan, and I was just like, how's Lamborghini coming about this? Because big engines, V12s, and famous for noise. What are you going to do about it? And he goes, we don't have to worry about that for another couple of years, because they're classed as a small scale manufacturer. Wow. And so Euro 7 doesn't come in for them for a few years, which seems amazing that Lamborghini is classified as a small manufacturer, because they do dish out a lot of Uruses.
I see them everywhere. I mean, admittedly, when I'm driving to Heathrow and I go through the posh bits of town, but I mean,
Uber drivers love them.
But I do see quite a lot of them, and they're 50% of Lambo sales these days are. That fact is possibly a year or two old, but I'm pretty sure it'd be right, if not more nowadays. It's about 50% of what they sell, but they're still a small-scale manufacturer.
100%. I think I'm plucking this out of thin air, but I believe it's 10,000 models a year.
That makes sense.
And I think if they fit in with that 10,000, they're small.
They must be close to it, because I think the Urus was about 5,000 a year. They were doing at one point, and I remember it represented 50% of Lambo sales. So they must be getting close to 9,999.
Absolutely.
Like
well, so it is one of those things where it's like, God, when do you? It's the kind of desire of wanting to be, sell more cars, but then it pushes you into being a large-scale manufacturer, and then you get all sorts of other legislation that maybe they'll just have to do Lamborghini 2, like a YouTube channel where someone wants to do a spin-off, and just that's a different manufacturer.
They've got the group,
So I'm going to be putting out a feature on that in the next few days / coming weeks, if I find some time. But the other news that we found out was that I was like, dude, when are you coming back to Le Mans? Because a few years ago they had the SC63 LMDH car that wasn't especially fast. And so they raced in the WEC for a year. They raced in IMSA for a couple of years, and they went, we're not doing this. We're pulling the plug, pausing it. And so I said, dude, what's going on? And he said, well, I didn't actually call him dude, but he said it was way too expensive, basically, and that they're considering bringing it back, but the competition was basically more than expected.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, you look at, there's so many manufacturers in the WEC now. McLaren's coming in next year, Ford's coming in next year, Genesis has come in this year, Porsche's left. But so Porsche's left, and there is a hole for where Porsche was, but you've got so many other manufacturers coming in. They're all wanting this shot at Le Mans, because it used to be the case of where it was 2 manufacturers battling it out for the win. Now there's 9, 10.
Yeah, so it's a proper manufacturer class.
It's a proper battle.
It feels serious, doesn't it?
A proper war.
Not that privateers aren't cool, but there's something about manufacturing.
So I think Lamborghini's looked at it and gone, we would have to chuck a lot of money at this to make it work, and we're not really interested. So they're going to evaluate it for next year. But my thinking is there's a new rule set coming in I think they're trying to plan a new rule set for hypercars, where it would be, because at the moment you've got split between LMDH and hypercars, LMH cars, and one is LMDH is you have 4 different chassis manufacturers, and you can build your car around that, and it's much cheaper than by building an LMH car, which is you build the whole thing yourself. So a Ferrari is an LMH car, Toyota's an LMH, what Porsche was, and Cadillacs and all that, they're LMDHs. So Lamborghini had an LMDH car, and they've gone, well, I think if we wanted to win more, we'd have to build an LMH.
Yeah.
And we just don't have the money.
Yeah.
So let's see what comes of that. But that's my news on Lamborghini. I've got one more thing I want to bring you, but you've got something else to tell me first.
Yeah, and I'm just checking the embargo has literally just lifted 4 minutes ago.
Oh my goodness.
As we record this is breaking news. It's actually on PistonHeads right now. The news is that the Volkswagen Polo GTI is back. But,
oh my God, does it have a peppy little four-pot under the bonnet?
No.
Oh, what a surprise.
It's electric. It's an ID Polo. But I'm going to try and make a case for it because I've driven the ID3 GTX, which has now been succeeded by the GTI version. That's a rear-wheel drive car, and they've done some tweaks to that, and I'm sure it'll be more fun. But what makes me more interested in this is that it's front-wheel drive, and it's got Volkswagen's clutch, was it VAC, limited slip diff electric thing under the between the front wheels. So it's going to be a proper hot hatch with 226 horsepower, sub 7 second 0 to 62 time, and crucially and seriously different to Alpine A290 etc. In this regard, it has a range that suggests it could actually be used properly as intended, because it has 263 miles of claimed range, which is, you know, I think it was 27 or something more than the Alpine promises. And in theory, you know, even if you knock back 20%, it's going to be way over 200 miles. So if you live in a suburban environment and you've got fun roads just outside of it, it could be a usable electric hot hatch.
Well, I mean, before we get onto that, what on earth is an HVAC clutch system?
HVAC, I always thought, was something to do with
it's HVAC is bloody air conditioning.
Air conditioning,
just making a joke, Sam.
Yeah.
But so what is the clutch vac or whatever?
Well, they only refer to it in their press release as an electronic limited slip differential.
Oh, I see.
But when I asked them in person when I saw the car, I was like, it's the clutch based one, right? And they were like, yeah, it is. It's not, because they could obviously use torque vectoring and just break it, but it's a proper, and this is good, it's going to be a proper electronic limited slip diff, which is not just on their EVs, of course. So that means it should put the power down quite nicely. Now, I should say the Cupra Raval is the same car underneath. Literally in terms of electric motor, diff, battery as well, 52 kilowatt hours worth of battery. But the crucial thing in this versus the Raval, and normally, you know, when we're doing a comparison between a Cupra and a Volkswagen that share a platform, you'd probably say Cupra's a little bit cheaper, probably styled a bit more aggressively. It's kind of the sensible and more fun one to go for. But in this case, I think the Polo looks really good because they've kept it looking like the old petrol one, albeit a little bit different here and there. The rear is actually quite different. But the front is recognisably Polo. For the listeners, it looks like the last Polo GTI, but with a light bar at the front, generally speaking.
That's a really good point, actually. It does look recognisably like a Polo. It doesn't look absolutely massive, which is a good thing. 226 horsepower, peppy. The thing I love the most about it, though, is if you look at the rear, it's got a gigantic faux diffuser.
I was about to say, you said faux before. Yeah, because it's a diffuser. ish. It basically does nothing. And I did get under the car and look under it to see, in case there was a flat floor leading up to it. No, it's a bit of bumper with a bit of plastic in it. It looks really good, but it's completely fake.
I'm just trying to think of what it reminds me of. It's almost Valkyrie-esque, where you've got these...
Wow.
I know. I'm just... What's the first thing that comes to mind when I think massive diffuser?
Yeah.
But you've got these kind of two large channels either side of the bumper. But the thing that I find really funny is that they've put some reflectors in there. So that kind of like, if you had that as acting as a proper diffuser, that would kind of scoop upwards, and be like a proper Venturi tunnel.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like filled in. It's almost like a faux exhaust.
Exactly.
It's just, it's just the tip.
We've got a comment in by live podcasting. We have a comment.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Fooey. I think they've got the looks right. A positive comment on an electric car. Oh my God.
Good Lord.
Fantastic.
I think they've got a point though. It looks smart, and I think that yes, a Polo GTI would be a lot of fun if it was manual with a 4-banger.
Yeah.
But we just got to be realistic that that's not going to happen on a car that's probably going to sell in the tens of thousands.
Yeah, and at this price point, because that's the thing as well, right? The normal ID Polo is comparable with the Renault 5. Renault 5 selling really well, of course, and sort of in the early 20s. This will be over 30, but it won't be much over because it will get the UK government grant. Unconfirmed, but Volkswagen are like, there's literally no reason why it won't. So it will be in the early 30s, which for an EV, with okay range and decent performance means, you can see this. I think this is going to be a classic case of if you go into a Volkswagen dealership and you've spotted
Sam, we have
the things.
Physical buttons everywhere.
You've beaten me to it. I was going to jump onto that.
Physical buttons in the center dash for the. I'm guessing that's for the HVAC controls.
That's
potentially
for the HVAC. Do you know what? I actually just realised I sidetracked myself because I'm so bad at talking. When I was saying there were reasons to buy this over the Cupra Raval, and then I got sidetracked on something else.
Yes.
I can't remember what I was talking about. The point I was going to end up on was the interior, because the Cupra's still got the slidey, touch-sensitive crap on the infotainment, not on the buttons on the steering wheel, thankfully.
I see. Yeah.
That's all gone in the Cupra as well. But it's got the slidey infotainment controls, whereas the Polo doesn't. It has proper little manual switches, mechanical buttons on the wheel and for the climate.
That's kind of how Audi used to have their setup a few years ago. So it actually looks really quite smart.
And I did some prodding. Can you spot that now for the viewers? Hopefully there'll be an image on screen. Can I assume there will be?
Yes, there will.
Excellent. Yeah. The interior image you see here, and for the listeners, can you spot the hidden button? It's hidden in plain sight.
Is it the GTI button?
Yes, you got it. You got it.
There's a big GT. So you've got a steering wheel. It's a 2-spoker. And where the third spoke would be, you've got kind of like a tongue that just says GTI. Whereas I'm assuming if you hit that, goodness happens.
Predictably, the ambient lighting all goes red. I think it's white normally, and then it changes into sport mode, or it can be used as a shortcut to access the sport mode button menu. Too many words, but you know what I mean. And then you can do the individual mode, etc. Oh, and the key thing in that is it gets standard fit DCC, dynamic chassis control.
Sweet.
So it means you can soften it off or make it really firm. And it's the typical modern Volkswagen one where you can either just go through the original settings, sport or comfort or normal, or you can actually slide a bar with, I forget the number, but it had so many points on the bar, it was obscene. It was like you can go, I don't know, it's 10 or 12 points on the bar from the softest to the firmest. And I'm told by the engineers that it will feel more comfortable than the old Polo GTI in soft mode, but also be very, very good in sport mode.
I remember when the Hyundai i30N came out, and a journalist who I won't name, but they weren't writing for a proper performance car website. They did a video and they said, there are so many options in the menu that it's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I would much rather get in the car and it all be set up for me. And I was like, I think you have totally missed the point of this car, because I love that kind of stuff. I love going in and I want to fine tune as much as I can. Of course, you can just shove it in sport mode.
I was about to say you could use the shortcut.
100%. But going in there and having all that stuff to fiddle with is something that I would really enjoy, and it sounds like you can do that on this GTI.
You can with the chassis, and then with obviously the powertrain and everything else, it's typical Volkswagen where you can just go from like normal comfort and sport. So but it's great, and I mean I'm excited for it in the sense that I think it will be a really good all-rounder. It's not going to set your hair on fire, it's not going to be the most exciting hot hatch, but to be fair, the Polo GTI in recent years at least never was. It was always just a really good all-rounder with good performance, relatively subtle. I think as the PH has commented and as I saw, I think it looks good. I really like the wheels.
The wheels look really smart. I would say I tend to look more on the positive side of things, but I've always thought the couple of the previous generation Polos have just been a bit like nondescript. It's like, oh, they're cool. I think that's kind of the point of a Polo GTI.
It is, yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, yeah, not bad, not the best, not the worst. Yeah. It's just really good. This, however, actually looks quite desirable. It feels like some more effort has been put into its design. The interior genuinely looks quite cool.
I forgot to mention as well, actually, I asked a question because I kind of said, as you just said, to one of the engineers. Yeah, I know, spoke to some engineers and actually asked them questions. I said, previous Polos, in most recent years at least, have felt, where the Golf has had all these special editions and you've got these racy ones. The Polo was just kind of like, we've stuck I think it was a 2 litre in the end, wasn't it? They had basically the Golf engine but detuned. It just felt like an all-rounder that was pokey, and it was kind of the car. I can imagine like someone's mum going into a dealership going, I want a Polo, but they've got a few quid, and the salesman goes, why not go for the GTI? And then they just upgrade. Yeah. Not because they want a Polo GTI. I was like, is this just going to be like that again? Or have you done anything specific to chassis tuning, etc.? And the engineer was kind of like, I could see him kind of being like, well, what's wrong with the previous? Why is that bad? But then also at the same time, he went, oh, we have changed the rear beam from the ID Polo to the T-Cross. I think it's the ID Cross rear beam, which is bigger and stronger to stiffen up the rear. And he said that actually improves agility, which I took to mean lift off oversteer.
Nice.
So, anything with a stiffer rear anti-roll bar or rear beam or whatever in a hot hatch that's front wheel drive tends to feel a little bit more lively on the tail. So it's obviously not going to be spiky.
Yeah.
Volkswagen do that. Edition 50 GTI is pretty rotatey on lift off oversteer. This won't be that, but I think it's got some great potential to be quite fun as well.
If anyone can get it to lift off oversteer, it is you.
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I've got plenty of practice from a little Clio.
Precisely. But no, I mean, I look forward to driving it at some point, but it's nice that VW has put out so much stuff in recent years that just has missed the mark.
100%.
And this was a live reaction. I hadn't seen it until we were just looking at it now. And
it's live.
It's cool. Yeah. Yeah. And it's live.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think they've listened to us. They really opened the presentation. When I went to see this car, there were a few on show, several of which are still under embargo, so I can't talk about them. But they basically opened up saying, we know we kind of messed up the last few years, and we've listened to what you're saying, and that's in reference to journalists and obviously customers as well. And that's why that interior is so much improved.
I absolutely love it when car manufacturers did that, because that's what Ferrari did last year with the Amalfi, and said we messed up with the steering wheel and we put it back, and it's just like, oh, hallelujah. Yeah. Right. I've got the new BMW Alpina here, sort of.
What have you chopped in your car and you've got an Alpina now?
When I told you this morning, you were like, oh, you got an Alpina. And
I thought you meant I've got the Alpina. Sam. And I was like, you've got an Alpina?
I have not bought an Alpina. I have the poor man's Alpina. But I would love an actual Alpina. No, this is the new Alpina, sort of, because it's called the Vision Alpina. Car manufacturers love a vision at the moment, which is revealing something that is basically just the new word for a concept car. Yeah. It's revealing something that looks really quite good, looks surprisingly close to a production car, but isn't the production car. So, called the Vision Alpina, this is a 2-door GT that has been inspired by the Alpina B7 Coupe from the 1970s, based on the E24.
That's cool.
So, it's a very, very sleek looking thing. It's kind of like what's the best way to describe it? It's a bit like what you could imagine as a modern interpretation of the 8 Series, or the next generation of the 8 Series. It's really quite beefy. The wheels are absolutely massive. 22s at the front and 23s at the rear. 20 spoke. These
that's going to be a nightmare to wash.
Oh, it's going. Well, yeah. I mean, they're not fiddly, but yeah.
God, 20 spokes.
Yeah, 100. Yeah.
If each spoke takes 2 seconds, that's 40 seconds. I mean, 2 seconds.
Just spray some cleaner on it. It'll be fine. I haven't got time for this. So these are the modern interpretation of the signature Alpina wheels.
Oh yeah. To be fair, they always have spokes.
They do look a little bit different. The reason is that if I've got a picture of it, I'll put it up. The old traditional Alpina wheels, yes, they've got 20 odd spokes, but they're quite flat on the surface. Yeah. So the kind of the center cap is sort of in line with the rim.
Yeah.
Whereas these are quite deep dish.
Yeah, they've got that concave. Yeah, they have.
Which by themselves look extremely cool. But whether they look Alpina-y, I'm not sure. They almost look a little bit like an old GT1. They almost look a little bit like an old GT1 wheel, racing car.
Oh, yeah. With the centre lock.
With the centre lock. So, yeah, they're cool in their own right. It's got, like you would get on an Alpina body kit, if you look at the splitter at the front, just above it, you've got the Alpina wording just above that, like you get on old Alpina kits. Otherwise, I think because we're so used to seeing an Alpina version of an existing BMW product, when you look at this, it's kind of hard to know what's Alpina about it because it's its own thing. It's not an Alpina version of anything. It's its own product. Why have you just brought up Nigel Thornberry?
I'm getting Nigel Thornberry from that face. Look at the chin and the nose. It's Nigel Thornberry.
For anybody that isn't a millennial and didn't grow up with the Thornberrys TV show.
And I forgot the name, so I had to Google cartoon Nigel British American.
Yes, it's a cartoon character with a massive ginger moustache.
He's got a moustache. His nose is quite pointed, and his chin is big. That has all of those features.
I can tell you though that there's nothing ginger about this car.
No, hair excuse, like the color is not there, but the shape.
I would say,
For the viewers, please let us know if you agree.
So BMW says that this is inspired by the E24.
I don't think that's
whatever.
Right. Nigel Thornberry.
Sam's saying it's inspired by Nigel Thornberry. What I see is, do you remember this 3-litre CSL limited edition that they released a few years ago?
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about the original. No,
not that.
CSL.
Have a look at the 3-litre CSL homage that they did, and which was based on an M4.
Oh, yeah, I do remember this.
That's the Badger, right?
Yeah.
I see that. It's just got slightly thinner eyes, and the grille is filled in. But it is otherwise kind of a modern or a more contemporary version of that 3-litre CSL concept, oddly, especially at the front. On this car, the grille is filled in. However, it's going to have a V8.
So how have they done? I guess it's a concept. They're not going to explain this. But
exactly.
Where is that V8 getting its intakes?
Nor have they explained what V8 it is.
Yeah.
Matt Bird's done the article, and he says, because he was actually there to talk to some Alpina people, that it won't have the plug-in hybrid lump from the M5.
Okay, cool.
So it's going
not going to be a billion tons.
It is going to be a proper standalone V8, likely twin turbo. Where that's come from, though, I'm not entirely sure. And the word from BMW Alpina boss Oliver Willechner, I'm very sorry for butchering your name, said that while electrification could, it might be on the horizon at some point for Alpina, the prospective buyers are pretty clear that they want combustion at this price point. So it's like, great. Well, I guess that's kind of in line with what Stephan Winkelmann was saying about...
consistent.
Yeah. It's if you're spending that kind of money, you want something that makes a bit of noise. And that's sort of how I see combustion cars are going to go into the future. They will always be around, but it's annoyingly, they're just going to be for...
expensive stuff.
They're going to be really expensive.
The day-to-day, the Polo just squeezes into that because it's 30-something grand. That's where EVs will live, isn't it? And then you'll have combustion. But, I mean, fair enough, because that end of the market as well, people could put, the brands might be able to say, this is now sustainable, fuel capable. I don't know how much this will go for, but with a Lambo, I can imagine... some Lamborghini owners being like, I'll run sustainable fuel. Probably not, because they probably don't care about that stuff.
Well, it's going to be positioned between a top-of-the-range 7 and a Rolls-Royce.
So it'll be six figures,
which is
but it might
a substantial gap.
It'll be six figures, but maybe not many hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, because you could look at this and go, that looks like it's based on a Rolls-Royce Dawn. Oh, wait, no, Spectre, that's it, sorry. Rolls-Royce Spectre, that's the electric car. But it isn't, which is good. And the only catch, though, is that from what I can tell, this isn't what the new Alpina is going to look like. The actual Alpina is going to be a four-door based on the 7 Series.
So this is just a Vision in the most open-minded sense.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Hence the grille's not being...
It might come like this. I don't know. It's still very early days. Alpina BMW has been extremely coy on what its vision of Alpina is going to be.
Yeah.
This is our first little taste of it in true fashion, it's like, this is what the future of Alpina is going to be, but it probably isn't.
I'd like to know if it's because Alpina, obviously being so closely joined to BMW, it can't operate now as a low volume manufacturer. It's part of BMW, surely. So they might be getting dragged into, or maybe they don't. I suppose BMW soaks up the weight of the EV kind of mandate, and then Alpina, because it will be on it's part of the range, but it's a smaller part. Maybe they'll get away with it. Because I'm just imagining, if they're going to cap the limit, is this going to have to be really low volume in order to not upset the CO2 overall, or is it going to be?
That's a really good point that I currently don't know.
I don't think anyone will know. I'm sure they won't reveal that stuff. Will they?
We'll just have to wait for it to come, and that'll be 2027 when the first proper BMW Alpina, not that special edition XB7 that was released a couple of months back, will come out. We need to get on to a buying challenge because we are waffling way too much. And this week, we've got a post from Toyota MR23, which says, which sports car budget 60 to 80k? And they say, I'm starting to look at used sports cars and appreciate views from people who have owned or seriously considered the Aston Martin Vantage, Jaguar F-Type V8, Porsche 911, or possibly an Aston Martin DB11. Also interested in the Cayman GT S 4-litre as a slightly different option. Having not owned any of those, I can't assist, but I've driven most of them.
Yeah.
The main aim is getting the best value buying used, but still something new enough that it can stay under warranty for at least a few more years. I'm less interested in having the latest model and more interested in buying at the point where most of the depreciation has already happened.
That's a tough one because you've asked for two things there, that kind of opposing, right?
Yeah.
So new that it's in warranty, but it's also
done its depreciation. But isn't it like the first year or two is when most of the depreciation happens? So
yeah, I mean driving off the forecourt typically, isn't it? But yeah,
precisely. Yeah,
yeah.
So we've got some options. Just to summarise, it's quite a long post. They really have their eye on a 2019 era Vantage. It seems to tick all the boxes of looks, theatre, sense of occasion, and it's already had a fair old hit to its price. However, they're hesitant on the long-term ownership prospects. That's where they like the idea of a Porsche 911, obviously, but they just it's not really got that kind of excitement for them at the minute. And that's the same goes for Cayman GT S 4-litre as a potential substitute. So they're like, Carrera's maybe not quite doing it for them. Cayman GT S 4-litre, a bit more so. I would say just my input so far on those is I really wasn't won over by the 2019 era Vantage. The current one is, there was so many rough edges of that Vantage that the new one it was considered a facelift, but it was pretty much a new car. They changed so much of it and updated so much of it. That old car, I mean, it sounded pretty decent, but I didn't think the steering was the greatest. I didn't think the gearbox was the greatest. I didn't think the technology inside was horrific.
Yeah. It was previous gen Merc stuff.
It was previous gen Merc stuff when it was new.
Yeah.
So, and it had, we were talking about buttons earlier. I love buttons, but I mean, but it was buttons for everything. And it was, it just looked like the control ship of the Starship Enterprise. There was so much on it. So that, I mean, each to their own, but I probably wouldn't go for that if it was my money. And again, I've mentioned it on this podcast before, Cayman GT S 4-litre ticks a lot of boxes, but for the theatre, sense of occasion thing and kind of it feeling special, for me, it doesn't tick the box. Yeah. Which is why I'll get onto my list. Sam.
Well, a car I think I've mentioned one of these on a much earlier pod, but I'm going to bring up because I really do think they're great. I think they feel such a fantastic all-rounder. The Mercedes-AMG is listed as a Mercedes-Benz here. It's Mercedes-AMG GT S. This is a car with, a bi-turbo, twin-turbo, 4-litre hot V with the 8s, hot V V8. And it's just such a car. I just think they look spectacular. They are comfortable, usable. You talk about buttons and switchgear. I think it's got a good balance of the stuff. I think these are just such cool machines. And I think they feel special because of the engine, but also they do drive fantastically well. I think handling, ride, engine performance is really great as well. But also they're not unbelievably hard. I've been told from somebody who I know who has run one that they aren't crazy difficult to maintain and service as well. You just drop it off at a main dealer, get it serviced like any other Mercedes. It's not like you're owning something so exotic that it requires absolute, care and attention every 15 minutes.
It's a really interesting car, this, in the sense that they're quite compact.
Yeah.
They are, from what I've heard, quite chuckable. I've driven the latest version of the AMG GT, and it was astonishingly good. I really enjoyed it. But it's also, there's quite a lot of race car preparation in there, because it's a dry sump. It's a dry sump engine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So it is designed for being hammered.
Yeah.
But it's also a really good daily car. Annoyingly, that's quite a good option.
Yeah, and I think like the car to live with, but that's also done, a lot of it's depreciating, and it's not going to be catastrophic reliability wise. This just kind of ticks all the boxes.
A very safe spec as well, and kind of very dark grey / black over black wheels. £76,000, 25,000 miles.
This one comes with a 2-year AMG warranty as well.
Oh,
even though it's a 2019 car, so that's good.
Nice.
So it's just a great. I think this is if you could say it that, it's a sensible buy.
Yeah.
The next one isn't. But my God, I would have one of these.
This ticks the theatre and occasion box.
Yeah. I've gone famously reliable.
Yeah.
A McLaren. But it's a 540C. So hear me out on this one.
At least it's detuned.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 570S detuned. Now, I know the engines actually are not always the things to go wrong with these. I think it's the electronics that they have a few issues with. I've actually had a problem with electronics in a car once.
I think it's a little column A, little column B. I think.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's the classic, I've been shopping for an old Porsche, and it's kind of like, if it's got to this age, maybe it's all right.
I love that way of thinking.
Yeah, this is a 2019 car, 17,382 miles. Only 3 previous owners, which, given that a lot of cars start life in this sector anyway as like leased or, they get swapped around quite quick at the start. This one's 3 previous owners is okay. It's not, McLarens are, of course, famously more race car than the equivalent Porsche or Ferrari, and that's true in this as well. It's going to feel, the tub of these things, the carbon tub, not only is it strong and very safe, but also you really feel like you're in a track car. And even though this is the baby McLaren, they still feel like a proper McLaren. Makes all the same noises. It's still ridiculously quick. You've got 530 horsepower here. And that's the baby McLaren,
and it's light, and as you say, it's stiff.
Super light.
And these are
Proper.
I've driven a 570, but not a 540. But it still remains the baby McLaren. They've never made anything cheaper or undercut it, and it was astonishingly good.
And they look like, to the untrained eye, even to the trained eye, most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this and probably even a 600 LT, because even I would have to double glance at it and be like, does it have the upwards exhausts? So
put it like that. If you're in a town that's and that drove through it, you'd go, 570S. It was a 540C.
Yeah.
But still, again, annoyingly, a good shout.
They aren't the most reliable cars, but also you see a lot of them around. I do see a few McLarens here and there, so clearly they're not all falling over all the time. So it is a spectacular car. And for a whisker under 80k, for a tenner back, that is a lot of machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sports cars, the next choice maybe doesn't squeeze into that category because it is a 2-door coupe. But what a 2-door coupe.
Yeah.
Or just a coupe, sorry, 2-door coupe. I'm getting all modern. There's no such thing as a 4-door coupe, actually, is there?
Well, I think you'll find I own one, Sam.
Yeah, but it's
a Grand Coupe.
That's a bit of marketing name, isn't it? Grand Coupe, all right, we can call it.
It's true. It's basically a hatchback. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
But BMW M2 CS with just 3,100 miles on the clock. So you've got, a low mileage, full BMW service history. This is, I think the other 2 I chose were 2019s, weren't they? Yeah, this is a 2020 car. This is, I know it's not a proper sports car, but it is such a machine.
These are great. This was
I've still not driven a CS.
This was the first CS I drove, and it was spellbinding. Because my view of this is with the CS cars, when I was growing up, kind of idolizing E46 M3s, E39 M5s, E60s, my view was always like they are the greatest drivers' cars ever of normal kind of body shapes. And realistically, when you drive an actual M car, they are superb to drive, but they're obviously like compromised to feel like a proper road car.
Yeah.
Whereas a CS for me is what your childhood brain imagines what an M car would drive like, because it just fizzes. It's just got the steering's so tactile. you get it just rotates beautifully, and because it's an M2 and it's nice and small,
That's it.
It's wonderful. It's expensive. It's 74,950, and you think you can get an M2 comp for 40k less than that, but still.
I'm thinking in my head that's A45S price an AMG. So it's like a super hatch versus. I would rather one of these.
100%.
Proper. It's a short wheelbase, rear wheel drive. So you've got that. It feels a little bit more pure as well, doesn't it?
And for me, we're talking about. If we're talking about proper nerds, of all of the cars that I would feel the most special, it's that one.
Yeah, and I think this looks great, by the way.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
Silver wheels. There's always need silver wheels. It's for the listeners. It's that I don't know what the BMW name for it is, but it's that French racing blue shade with a black roof. Is it black carbon roof as well?
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh yes, black wheels. Obviously black grills as well, and I think it looks great.
Is it though going to give them the same sensification as an Aston Martin? I don't know, Sam, but I know that my car certainly does.
Yes.
Well, the first one anyway.
Oh yes.
Because I've gone for. I feel like I've bought a couple of these up recently, but it just seems like the obvious choice, and it's a 2022 Corvette Stingray.
I had a go. I've had a recent drive in one of those.
Oh yeah,
and is that the drop top?
It is. It's the Targa. Yeah, absolutely. So it's in red. We've got the black wheels with the silver lip around them, which I'm going to admit is the best look for the base C8. Because I think the Z06 is kind of from then on it looked really quite good. I think the standard C8s can look a bit funny from some certain angles.
It's the proportions of that mid-engine layout.
I think the wheels on this help a lot, and it's also in red, so it does have that kind of like real theatre. Like, well, this is a Corvette.
It's a bit of mascara away from being that new Lambo.
It absolutely is for a fraction of the price. This is 79,999, 6,000 miles. 0 previous owners, so it's pretty much box fresh, and it's more importantly, it's right-hand drive, so it's a proper UK spec one.
And this has a load of buttons in the interior.
It does have a heck of a lot of buttons. We've talked about this before, where you've got like the line next to the kind of wraps around the cockpit.
But it's great. It's great. You want to use a control without looking down at the buttons. You just feel your way around because some of them have got a texture and a layer, and they've got like bumps in them, so you know which buttons they are by feeling them.
So it's a relatively new car, 2022. But my thinking here is I don't know what the servicing is like on these or how expensive they are, but ultimately it's a General Motors car.
Yeah, it'll be.
So come on, it's practically a Chevrolet Lacetti underneath, right?
Practically, yeah.
So,
but I think it'll be like the AMG, my AMG, where it's like it's just going to be treated like a big engined normal car rather than. Well, it depends how easy it is to get some of the bits.
I've heard nothing but good things about them. You had a pretty good experience in it, right?
Yeah, it was pouring. It was freezing in Wales, and I was terrified of getting into it. I thought, it's going to bite me in the arse, and it was really nice to drive.
If, however, that doesn't do it for you, because I know that Chevrolets aren't to everybody's cup of tea. If you fancy something a little bit more refined, I do have a 911.
Yeah, it was the obvious.
It was the obvious choice, and I know they said, it's not quite, exactly what I'm after for the theatre. First of all, the one that I've got here is finished in what I believe is Miami blue. So it is Miami blue, yes. So it's that kind of really punchy blue. So it's not like a boring spec 911. It's a Carrera 4 992, by the way. I forgot to mention that. It's got the 5-spoke kind of modern interpretation of the Fuchs wheels.
That looks good.
So it does look really smart. It's also got Porsche stickers down the side too. They're quite subtle, but again, it just makes it feel a little bit more special.
They don't go all the way down. Normally they link up with the rear wheel, but this one just stops at the back of the door.
It does. If you get a Carrera, regular Carrera, that's what they have. It's also got a little Porsche sticker on the bonnet as well. One previous owner, but this is an auction car. So by the time you listen to this podcast, which will be on Tuesday the 19th of May, this goes live on Wednesday the 20th. So you'll be able to bid on it. But it's just that kind of idea of if you go like, well, I do want to go for a 911, but I want it to feel a bit more special. I think this is actually quite a good shout. It's an auto, and being a Carrera 4 means that it's only producing around 400 horsepower. But I think as an all-in-one, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the aero kit on it as well, which I think is the better option. It's just a standard Carrera looking extremely smart with the sports exhaust at the back, so it should sound a bit throatier. And they are, I've driven just a regular Carrera 4 before. Brilliant.
Oh, they are. I mean,
Absolutely fantastic cars.
they don't feel like an event. I mean, the engines do make a lovely sound, but it's not got a big V8 burble.
Yeah.
But the steering feel in a Porsche, we've spoken about it before, is just, I mean, in this list, I mean, actually, McLaren aside, and maybe the other one you're going to list in a minute, but it's right up there with those.
It is, yes. And I would say, personally, if you were thinking of a Cayman GT S 4 litre, yes, it's a naturally aspirated flat six, and it is a lovely, lovely engine. This is obviously 3 litre turbocharged, but it's not super. It doesn't feel properly old school turbocharged.
No, it doesn't
engine.
at all.
It is a really refined unit. It does sound genuinely very good. It almost still has that kind of throatiness of what the old 991s and 997s had. And I just feel like this is potentially a little bit more substantial than a Cayman GTS 4 litre. However, if this was my money, I would probably go for this. If you want the theatre, you like the idea of a Porsche, but you don't want a 911, and you're mulling the idea of a Cayman GTS 4 litre, just get a GT4, because I've got one right here that's 79,995,
Fiver back.
black, gold wheels, and what does that say, Sam Sheehan?
It's oh my god.
Oh yeah,
It's
I've
got an
extended
extension.
warranty.
Yeah.
I've got a Porsche extended warranty on it, so it's a 2022 car, 10,000 miles, but it's like box fresh, really.
Yeah.
It has the sport seats, so it doesn't have the buckets, but I think for genuine usability, daily stuff, they're absolutely fine. I've driven those seats in a Cayman GTS 4 litre.
If you're not track daying it,
If you're not track daying it, it's fine. It's got the fire extinguisher in it.
Yeah,
for
weird.
if you are track daying it, but it doesn't have the bucket seats.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is. For me, this just felt like everything I wanted the Cayman GTS 4 litre to be. It's a bit like the experience M2 CS versus a regular M car. Of course, the GTS is going to feel softer and more usable, but I love the feeling of a properly tactile, feedbacky steering.
Oh yeah,
these sound great. They're just marvelous. And you look at it every time. I had one for a week, and every time I walked up to it, I was just like, I cannot wait to drive that.
Yeah.
And you just didn't get that with a regular GTS. So that would be my pick. Cayman GT4 79,995 with an extended warranty.
Now, my heart longs for the McLaren.
Yes.
But I am going to choose the AMG. Because I think it offers something different to that in a slightly more rounded package, in the sense that it's got it's not armchair seats, but it's slightly more comfortable. It's a little bit more relaxed, but still offers that extreme and exciting engine sound and feeling.
Yeah, annoyingly, I think you picked the right one, but my car's better. So let us know.
Depends when you drive.
Well, let us know what you think. So if you're listening to this on
Head-to-head
Spotify,
Germans.
there will be a vote. You can vote on it. You can choose my car. You can choose Sam's car. Or if you think we did a terrible job, go onto my story on the PistonHeads homepage, click on the topic, put your own suggestions in there, and then just say, Cam and Sam, you suck. On to our final topic.
Yes.
Which is driving in India and comparing it to other countries.
I added that little bit in there, by the way. It was driving in India was the topic title.
Oh, I
but
see.
The topic
right.
evolved.
Thank you. It's something that we can all relate to. But there is a reason why we brought this up. So this has been posted by Cobra Kid. And
it's quite appropriate. Is that the beer or the snake? Either way, it makes sense for India.
It does, doesn't it?
Either way.
Very fitting. They say, I've just been lucky enough to spend a week in India with work. It involves stays in Calcutta, Chennai, and Hyderabad. The first journey from the airport to the hotel blew our minds. The traffic, the noise, the horns, the chaos.
The chaos.
After a few days of it, it just seemed to work. No one got angry. There was hardly any damage on any car. Simply a case of, if you are in a space, the other person isn't. Loved it. Now, Ian Geary says, this reminds me of Chiang Mai in Thailand back in 2007-ish. It was chaotic, but really chilled. I'll get onto that in a bit. We had recently been to Rome, where traffic was chaotic, aggressive, and dangerous, particularly at airport taxis. Deerfoot then says, just like a taxi ride I had years ago in Cairo, utterly terrifying, but addictive at the same time. How do you people get off? Jesus. Unreal then says, first link I could find, not presented as definitive, and it's a Wikipedia link. Interesting numbers that often contradict a view that it just all seems to work. I drive in France and Spain a lot, and my enjoyment of their roads and sense that it's better is undermined by the numbers.
Undermined? That's weird. Isn't that saying it's worse?
I think that's it. I think that the idea is that it's like, oh, it's all so nice, and then you look at the numbers and you go, oh, it's a bit chaotic. I mean, if you look at Paris, they hit everything that they can find.
That's true.
So that doesn't surprise me. Spain, on the other hand, I've driven in the centre of Madrid, and it was horrifically busy. But otherwise, I mean, as soon as you leave the cities, it's relatively quiet. Barcelona's not usually jam-packed.
No.
But yeah, I mean, we've both driven in countries where it's a little bit chaotic. I'll say, like, I'll go with Thailand. Actually, I tell a lie. I've not driven in Thailand, but I've been passenger
in a car,
there, and it terrifies me. Not in the sense of it's like, oh, it's quite exciting. No, I mean, you're going to be, it's a little bit delicate. But I mean, like, the problem is that you'll be swarmed by mopeds that, again, they'll fill any gap that they can find, but they will crash into you as well. We were driving to the mall a few years ago, and a bloke on a moped just ploughed into the back of my wife's car.
Did he have a helmet on?
I think he did, yeah. So they've got their version of Uber Eats out there, or Deliveroo, called Grab. So he was a Grab rider, and they're everywhere. And just, I think he just kind of dusted himself off and then rode off.
Yeah. And
it's like, oh yeah, it just works. But you'll also see families of 3 or 4 on a moped riding around, and part of you's going, oh my God, that's horrific. Why are they doing that? But then you realise that that's their only option of getting around. Yeah.
So firstly, I just want to call out Unreal's name, Unreal, and then put into that thread how he didn't agree with those previous links. So I think that was a beautiful connection there between name and what he was trying to say, he or she was trying to say, which is that they don't agree that those places are safer. And I just want to throw in, because I looked at the list and I think it was a great find on Wikipedia, because it is telling. I was on a trip the other day. We spoke about the GR Corolla on an earlier pod, and there were lots of American journalists on that trip because that's the car going to America. And they commented on how the journey to Brands Hatch, they'd spotted so many speed cameras and how ridiculous that was. And they weren't, being rude, but they were just effectively saying, like, I don't know how you guys live with this, because that's rubbish. You've got all these speed cameras. And I thought, no, I agree with you. It is really annoying having all these speed cameras. And in some cases, speed cameras are really just there to raise cash. It's so clear.
100%.
They're just money-making schemes. But when you look at the rankings internationally of, I mean, it's a sad topic, but deaths per 100,000 people in a population. So it's scaled for, comparable population sizes. The UK is in the top 10 in the world. America,
remarkable.
Can you guess where America is? I know you probably glanced at my screen earlier, but I don't think you would have seen the number.
I don't know the number because I thought it wouldn't have been far off.
Oh
because,
my God.
Because my thinking is that there's such little to hit out there because the roads are so vast.
Yeah, you think so.
And you don't have, it's a really easy road network in general, America.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the twistiest, tightest roads in some parts.
100%.
Even our motorways are winding.
You know how, like, when people come to the UK and they see our, single car tracks, people just bomb it down there, and you just pray to God that you squeeze through.
Yeah.
You don't get that in America.
No.
So they should be close to us because there's not a lot to hit and get wrong.
But the US is 111th on that list because they have, I mean, the numbers are still relatively small, but they go up a lot compared to the UK. So the US is 14.2 deaths per 100,000 people. The UK is 2.6, which is comparable, is identical to Denmark. And, we probably think of Denmark as a very safe country. Monaco tops the list with 0.
I would love to know I know we've got a few American listeners to this podcast. Please let us know why that is. What is it that's going on in America that makes the road so much more dangerous than it is in the UK? Maybe it is a case of the fact that there aren't as many speed cameras because they are littered here. But you do get, you do have police out there that do seem to, like, feels like they can pull you over for any old reason. It's just kind of like, I caught you speeding. Really? Why? Oh, I paced you. So you have a rough estimate of what I'm doing rather than hard data.
Yeah.
Okay, not the best thing. But still, so it seems like there's deterrence.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I saw, when I was in Texas a couple of years ago, I brought this up in the pod many times. I saw 2 massive road accidents. Like one, it's really sad. I'm pretty sure nobody got out of it. It was horrible. And they both were for the same reason, which was with the highways, certainly in Texas. There's no slow lane, medium lane, fast lane. It's just like a scatter. Like all the lanes are all the speeds.
Yeah.
And so in both cases, someone was doing ridiculous amounts of speed in a lane. There is no rule for the lane. So they came along, someone changed lanes, smashed into them. In one case, the pickup truck rolled off the highway. This happened about half a mile ahead of me, so I saw the aftermath, but I could see how it happened. Rolled off the highway, rolled so many times, and you're just thinking, my God, touch wood, I've never seen a massive accident in the UK. I've seen little accidents here and there. I've had accidents, but I've never seen anything of that scale happen or unfold in front of me.
Yeah.
In all of my years of driving.
I actually, on the way to a shoot, this is a slight tangent, on the way to a shoot a few years ago, it was really early. I was in a Cayman Turbo GT.
Yeah.
And there was a lady in front of me who I think she dozed off at the wheel and then woke up just before the arm coat, because I could see her gliding across the line. So I honked, and then she grabbed the wheel and she spun around, and luckily she didn't hit anything. But luckily it was a police car not far behind, so they pulled over and made sure that she was okay. Maybe gave her a bit of a slap on the wrist.
I think so, yeah.
But still, that's not to be like, oh, look how good our country is.
No.
Because there are like, there's I'm driving more and more on country roads that I enjoy, and they've got freaking average speed cameras on them,
and potholes
and potholes, and I know that they're there for safety.
So annoying.
But my God, they're infuriating. We drove on the Evo Triangle a couple of years back to do a shoot.
Yeah.
And it was my first time there, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to drive on this. And it's just average speed cameras everywhere.
Average speed cameras, and prior to that, they just had unmarked. Well, they were marked actually, but they were police vans hidden around corners. Because I went there in like 2012, and in my Clio, when it was brand new to me, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then I returned a few years later, and it was just covered in police vans. And now clearly they've got the average speed cameras. That said, talking of the Evo Triangle in Wales, I was in Wales for a little motorbike trip with a few pals, and the reason I really like this topic was because it made me think of Wales and the driving standard in Wales, generally speaking, and I'm sure somebody who lives in Swansea or the cities might disagree, but out in the countryside is brilliant.
I agree.
Really, really sensible. Everyone was driving enthusiastically, and admittedly, on the 60 roads, people were carrying some speed into the bends. The locals know their way around, and the road surfaces were great. But the driving standard was clearly really good. There wasn't anyone tailgating. It was really nice. And I knew I'd cross back into England for two reasons. Because we didn't use the River Severn crossing. We were a bit higher up the country, so there were no welcome to England signs.
Yeah.
So you just carried on, and then suddenly you were in England. But you wouldn't have known. The way I could tell was, number one, the road surface became rapidly worse and was declining in front of my eyes. And secondly, I suddenly found myself with tailgaters, people getting really, short-tempered about stuff. And then when I got back to London, oh my God.
London driving is horrific.
People pulling out in front of me, making me have to use the brakes quite hard as well, on a motorbike, bearing in mind. So this is really dangerous. Cutting me off, not noticing I'm there. Driving standard fell through the floor. And so, Wales, shout out to Wales. Great roads, great driving standards. Beautiful country.
Would love to see where Wales is on that list, actually.
I don't think it separates.
Is there enough people to actually get any data?
It's down as the UK, of course. So.
But I completely agree. We were there I was last there a couple of years ago, and the driving standards were absolutely stellar.
Yeah.
And the only time I had some problems with people was when we were shooting a bit. It's just because the seller of a car, it was a 991.2 GT3, was based around the Evo Triangle, and the locals there really hate car people. I think I had to pull over a little bit, and there were just people honking and getting pissed off because they just knew you were there to enjoy yourself. Yeah. But otherwise, the driving standards have been fantastic. And while I can't speak for all people that have had experience with coppers out there, from what I've heard and the small amounts of times I've engaged with them, it seems to be kind of like, so long as you're sensible, they don't mind you. Just be aware. I think they understand people who are good drivers and people who are taking the mick and who are actually taking it seriously. And it's not. They don't seem like the coppers out there. Don't seem like the sort of people that would have a go at you just for being there.
Yeah, I agree. I have first-hand experience of that in a Focus RS. It was the Heritage Fleet Focus RS that Ford had after they discontinued it, and I was off to get a curry for the PistonHeads team on a shoot we did there.
Every PH shoot is not complete without a Curry.
I was driving sensibly. I was under the speed limit, but I did have it in all the raciest modes, and the exhaust was making all the noises. And so I was sort of exercising the engine. And Nick, editor Nick, was going, right, we've got to get the Curry quick because, otherwise it's going to get cold and we've got to pick it up. And I was like, this is great. I love this. I love being told I have to go and get something in a really cool car on nice, open, empty Welsh roads. Anyway, an unmarked police car was following me for a while and just pulled me over and was just like, oh, what are you doing? You were quite loud. You seem to be heel and towing into every corner. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I was like, very apologetic and just said, oh, and I did the motoring journalist thing. Is this your car, sir? No. And then obviously that looks quite bad. Managed to explain the situation. They were really cool about it. They were like, oh yeah, we don't see many of these. It's really cool. Love the car. Just bear in mind that local residents in the area, probably don't want you making a lot of noise at 9 p.m. Just keep it down. It was really polite.
Yeah. More police like that, please. Welsh police, Welsh traffic police in general. You rock.
Thumbs up.
Because I think it is that case of where it's like they're there to, if they can kind of see that you're not taking the mick, it's kind of like, just because the roads are empty a lot of the times and there is really good visibility. So
it's such a beautiful country. Anyway, we're
gushing about Wales again.
I can't wait for the
somehow we've gone from
cash we get after this.
From Calcutta to Wales. But,
Wales Tourist Board. Here's my phone number.
What a journey. And on that note, that ends another episode of the Gassing Station podcast. Thank you ever so much for listening to an hour's worth of the two of us waffling. If you liked your hour's worth of waffling, please give us a 5-star review and maybe leave us some nice words. It really just lets us know that we're on the right direction and gets the word out of the Gassing Station to more people. Sam, anything to add before we head off?
No, just more news coming. We did good news this one, didn't we? We've got some more coming on the next one. Let me just check. Is the embargo going to have lifted? I think so. Yeah, we'll have news.
Well, cool. Providing the embargo is lifted, we'll have some cool news when we see you next Tuesday.